dear participant, and we are with an amazing resource person. I'm a follower of Chettiar in Facebook and almost all the social media. And I can see that 1 minute video, 2 minute video, wherever she goes, even if she goes to Himalaya, I will be there. Now I invited ma'am here to share her experience and knowledge on enrich our relationship with the surrounding people, maybe with your family members or maybe anything. I think she's the right person to give her inputs on the topic. Ma'am, I welcome you on behalf of the Department of Psychology, American College. On behalf of the participant over here, please take the session now and lead.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh, and thank you, Krishnan sir, for the policing job that you're doing. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. And I see some names that are familiar, though I don't see you, Yalnaz, Veronica. Hi, good to see that you guys are here. And I am also going to try to find a way to share my screen.
Yeah, 1 minute. I will stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we can start.
Okay, lovely. So here's my screen. Is everybody seeing this?
Yes.
So hi, good evening. I'm Cecilia, and the topic given to me, relationship enrichment. I've just added one small little word after that. I don't know if it's always enrichment or entrapment, because when we talk about relationships, whatever kind of relationships they seem to be the reason why we are mostly in trouble. They don't always seem to be the source of happiness, but they're definitely the source of our growth. So I don't know whether we're currently chained up because of our relationships, and they could be relationships, as Dr. Suresh said, any kind of relationship, or are we growing? Are our lives enriched? So before we start, what you could do, I invite all of you to think of one particular relationship. Any relationship. It could be the relationship between with your spouse. It can be the relationship with a colleague. It can be a relationship with friends, anything. So think of one relationship and let that be your frame of reference for the remainder of this talk. It's not going to be very long because I'm sure there are going to be more questions. There's a lot more that you guys can contribute than I will have to contribute. I will take you through what I understand of relationships, beginning from the theoretical aspects, because as I saw in some of the earlier lectures, we don't always have people from psychology. We are having people from other subjects too, from the social sciences and the physical sciences, and I don't want you guys to feel left out. So we'll do a little bit of both. Any topic, any discussion always begins with the understanding of the theory. I'm not going to give you a detailed explanation of the theory, but I would like you to understand that psychology as a science has progressed theoretically in the same way that physics has progressed. It starts with observation and finding causality. Essentially, that's what everything is. We're always trying to explain what it is and why it is. Merely description does not help us. So I've picked 3 particular experiments which have made a great mark in physics and which is very, very relevant to us in our particular topic today. To understand the concept of what we call observer effect. The first experiment is very, very famous. It's called the double slit experiment. You can go and read about it online. It's very simple. It's a light particle that is transmitted. It goes through a slit and it has to come on the screen on the other side. The interesting thing about this experiment is when it is being observed, the output of the experiment is very, very different than when it is not being observed. Schrodinger's cat, a very famous thought experiment. It's a thought experiment. It was not actually conducted. Again, figuring out whether the cat is dead or alive. As simple as that. All depends on the observer. The cat is put in this, if the cat is put in this box, which has this contraption, and if you open the box, Dinesh Kumar, you raised your hand. I don't know if you're taking questions right away. I think we'll take it towards the end. So if you can just hold that thought. And yeah, so coming back to Schrodinger's cat, again, this is about what you observe. Whether the cat is dead or alive depends on the observation. The last one, most relevant to psychology, the Hawthorne effect, something which most management and industrial psychology books talk about. Simple experiment, manufacturers at a company, the bosses at a company wanted to check what they could do to improve the production, did a simple experiment, and they found that merely the act of observing created a change in observation. All right. Why am I talking about observation so much? Because all these experiments tell us that what you see changes just because you are seeing it. So the relationship that you have thought about when we started, that's why I asked you to think of a relationship, whether it's with your child, whether it's with your parent, whether it's with a colleague, whether it's with your spouse. The fact that you're observing it changes the nature of the relationship. And this is not something which is coming to you from psychology. It's coming from physics, which is supposed to be the big boss when it comes to all the sciences. So go back and read about these experiments and understand how that happens. In psychology, we understand it very simply. We call it the observer effect because, if you bring someone into a lab and you conduct an experiment, it makes them all conscious and their behavior will change. But not just in the experimental lab, in your life, when you are evaluating a relationship, the fact that you are observing affects the output of the other person. And that is what we have to understand. So relationship theory, just like every other theory, focuses on causality. Now, finding the cause is something that has been talked about right since Aristotle's time. So the understanding, anything is scientific if you try to find the cause. So we are trying to make study of relationships also scientific. It's not just anecdotal evidence, or it's not just about what your experiences in life are. Somehow we've made it very simple. People think sitting in counseling or doing marital counseling or family therapy is just talking from experience. But no, this is all grounded in theory. So every slide that I'm going to be doing henceforth is grounded in theory. It's grounded in science. Your heterosexual relationship, a homosexual relationship, somebody you're fighting with one moment, you could be having fun with that person another moment. So relationships are all over the place, and very often we don't understand how to work them. One thing I found very, very helpful in understanding relationships is understanding your own attachment style. People from psychology know this. We have this concept of attachment theory, attachment style, that all depends on how you were brought up when you were a kid. So either you're an anxious kind of a person getting freaked out about everything, or you're an avoidant kind of a person where if there's trouble, you just want to run away and not face it. And sometimes, if you're married, you can't just run away from your marriage. So you probably run away from it by doing other things, getting involved too much in work, getting so involved with your child that you don't have to look at your husband, getting so involved with your work in such a manner that you don't have to coordinate with your colleagues. So there are different ways in which we avoid situations. And then, of course, there's the healthy version of attachment, which is secure attachment. Also, I have a tendency to speak fast. So if you guys feel I'm going too fast, please let me know. Dr. Suresh, I hope you can help me with that because you've muted everyone else. Okay, coming back. Secure attachment style is a useful, helpful, completely functional and adaptive style of managing relationships. So figure out what your attachment style is. Your attachment style is not dependent on the relationship. Your attachment style is dependent on who you are. And who you are depends on a whole lot of things, right from biology, genetics, to a nature, to nurture, which is your upbringing, your socioeconomic status, your education, everything. So your relationship is based on who you are. We are so used to saying that my relationship is great because the other person is like this. No, it primarily depends on who you are. And we look at why that is so. There are three paradigms whenever we look at relationships. In relationship theory, we're looking at three paradigms. I'm not taking any one theory specifically. I'm not taking any one relationship specifically. We will be talking a little more about the spousal relationship, heterosexual spousal relationship, simply because that seems to be a matter of major concern. When I first spoke to Dr. Suresh, he said that yes, relationships, there are a lot of questions. So I will cover a few more slides about marital relationships, but for the purposes of this lecture, think of how you understand a relationship. Now, the first paradigm, the first way, the abstract understanding of relationship would be individuals who are loosely connected. So that's why I have these two birds, both are flying happily. One could be going left, one could be going right, and both may come back to the same nest in the evening, whatever. They're connected to each other, but they have their own lives. This is what usually happens in what we call individualistic cultures. We are very familiar with this term, individualistic cultures, the kind of culture which is promoted in the Western school of thought, where it's about personal growth and personal satisfaction first before you look at the other person. The second picture that you see, these two little birds with their feet embedded in the heart, where is more like ours. It's the collectivist culture. It's two people connected to each other, connected in the relationship, and if one thing changes in one person, then the other person also gets shaken up, and that is where the problem is. So if I've had a bad day at work and my life is going difficult, I will make life hell for you also, or you will automatically make your life hell simply because you have not been taught to function as an independent person who needs to stay stable when the other person is shaky, right? The third one, this is a paradigm which most of us are not looking at. I mean, we understand individualistic, we understand collectivist, but this third paradigm we refuse to look at. It's a lot more complicated. This third paradigm was more commonly seen in the ancient ages, when we had this community living where there was an entire clan or an entire village which would be gathered around every person. So it's just your relationship with yourself, but it's your relationship with the other person and your relationship in the community, which is why I put that flock of birds, the formation, flying. Because if you look at those birds, those geese flying, you have the geese who will be worrying about his relationship with the bird in front, with the bird behind, but at the same time, because they're flying in formation, they are concerned with everybody else in the formation, right? That is the paradigm we don't look at. It's not easy in this time, because of this lockdown. It's a good time to ask ourselves that why are we not looking at the community at large, and why are we not training our kids to do the same? Because we have happily gotten either caught up in paradigm 1 or paradigm 2. It's I, me, myself, and then my partner, or I, me, myself, and my partner in our home. Beyond that, we really don't care what happens to the rest of the world. If there was a little more understanding of relationships, and the coronavirus is a fantastic way to tell us how strongly we are connected to other things. You just have to go and touch the surface that a corona positive person has tested, and you will also get the blessing. So you are connected to everyone in the community. We cannot think that we are completely separate, or we can function independent of that. Keep these three paradigms in mind. Think about yourself and the relationship that you had considered. Where do you fall? 1, 2, 3. You don't need to tell me, you need to know this for yourself. And because we're talking individualistic cultures and collectivist cultures, I thought a little more about culture that I'd like to talk about in a relationship. Even if it's a professional one where you are interacting with someone else for a very brief period of time. Like I'm talking to you for probably another 30 minutes now. In spite of that, there is a cultural difference. There's a difference between how you will approach a topic and I will approach a topic, though the theoretical background is the same. The examples I will take are not the examples you will take. Like in every lecture on relationships, I'm seeing all these, very heteronormative pictures where all relationships are supposed to be heterosexual. We are now way beyond that. Accept the reality that your relationship discussions needs to accept, understand, and acknowledge the presence of homosexual relationships. So there's a difference in the way we will understand the culture. So I may come with a banana and you may come with an orange. We both come with fruits, but the thing is, we'll not be living up to each other's expectation, because I'm expecting the same fruit from you and you're expecting the same fruit from me. And these differences in cultures, in the paradigms that we have of our cultures, creates a lot of conflict. I live in Mumbai. I've lived in Mumbai most of my life. Mumbai is supposed to be a metro city, and we're all supposed to be modern and Western and open-minded. And yet, even if I worked in the same place for many years, I still find that there is such a complication when it comes to discussing important points or having very high level discussions about matters which concern the organization. The cultural differences are massive. So cultural differences is not just between rural and urban, or between people of two different backgrounds. And I've put the word religion intentionally because today with the political scenario, you know this, the religious background makes a huge difference. How you approach someone from a religion different from yours, or of someone belonging to a particular community, your relationship is affected by religion, no matter how much you would like to deny it. Think about it. If it doesn't, well, then I'm impressed, and it's fantastic that if your relationships are not affected by religion. But I doubt. I seriously doubt. So be honest with yourself about that. In every relationship, okay. In every, I don't know what that sound was. In every relationship, we must get into the habit of establishing boundaries. Very, very essential in our Indian families. No boundaries when it comes to parent-child relationship. No boundaries when it comes to husband-wife relationship. To the person who is less powerful in the relationship. All of us have different types of relationships. You know, there are some kind of, like, consider the relationship that you have thought of. In that relationship, there are some things about the other person that you accept completely, and you say approved, accepted. Whatever this is, I accept. There are some things you don't like, but you tolerate. And you just have to listen to these husband-wife jokes doing the round, and you will have jokes about, mostly husbands making jokes about how they're tolerating their wives, wives making jokes about how they're tolerating the husband, the newer generation talking about how they cannot tolerate their parents, and the parents talking about how they are tolerating their children. That's like, a bad backache that refuses to go, so you just learn to function with it. And then there will be some things in the relationship where you think it's better, let's not get into a conflict, let's just let it go. If you have a lot of stuff that you let in a relationship all the time, it's going to lead to a lot of resentment. If there is very little that you let go of, that will also cause a lot of problems. So how much you can let go of in a relationship, or how much you actually do let go of in a relationship, is a very tricky balance for you to achieve between what you're accepting, what you're tolerating, and how much you're like, it's okay, I don't like what you're doing, but okay, I'm not going to bother about it. And within all this acceptance, tolerance, and letting go, there is one boundary you've got to have where it is I, me, myself. We do not teach this to our kids in school, that learn to love yourself, look after yourself, have your space. Even if it's a small corner, even if it is like, 30 minutes a day you're sitting alone by yourself, we have not taught our people to do this because our relationship with ourselves is so bad. We have not understood how to establish relationships with others. Why is this relationship with yourself, the me, so important? In therapy, we always talk about personal awareness, right? Personal awareness, understanding yourself. Why? You are made up of your emotions. You are made up of patterns in your behavior. You are made up of your beliefs, result of experience, result of how you've been brought up. And you are also made up of what you think about your body. So if I have a certain body structure, there are some things I will do, some things I will not do. And it is not necessarily because of body consciousness or a body image or anything. It's just that some things feel better, some things are more suited to one particular kind of activity, and some things are not. Besides the thought, emotions, beliefs, body, and the patterns that you have, the things that influence you are your parents. Influence us. I mean, think about the happiest moments of your life and the saddest moments of your life. Somewhere your parents are involved in both. Think about your friends. Your friends also make up who you are. The work that you do. For those of you who are students and planning to work once all of this lifts, the work that you're planning to do also defines who you are, and the partner that you choose or you end up with, because arranged marriages are still a thing. So the partner that you end up with, romantically, emotionally, all of this goes to make up you. How much of yourself do you really know? And if you don't know enough about yourself, how do you go about establishing healthy relationships with others? No? Simple thing, it's about having boundaries. I have had so many clients where, women, especially in the 40s to 50s or 60s age group, saying, I gave up everything for my husband and now he doesn't care, or he's having another relationship or whatever. My question is simple. Wait, who asked you to give up? Who told you to cut off relationship with friends? Who told you to cut off relationship with your hobbies? Who made you the kind of person that you have become? It was your choice. That's where the me comes into the picture. Taking time off for yourself, taking time off to allow for distance. Because we have not learned how to do that, we have not neither built a relationship with us nor with others. Even at work, if you have a bad day at work, if you're fighting with your colleague, you can scream at each other and then go back home, cool it off, come back the next day and then find a solution to the problem. The people that you live with, parents, children, spouses, where do you go? You step out of the house, you have to come back to that same house. And most of the times we don't take that space. No, we just sit and can, scream, yell, taunt. It's going on. And then the happy blame game leads to a lot of unhappy results. Communication, essential in every relationship, but one of the things about communication, don't over communicate. A lot of research about this is John Gottman, I think, and he's known for his research on communication between spouses, and he's done this fantastic research where he's actually predicted, he's famous for 3 major long-term studies where he meets couples when they're just engaged or newly married and follows them up for 10, 15 years, and then he predicts how many of them are going to end in divorce. It's a very controversial study, but he seems to be having almost 80 to 90% accuracy with the prediction. Because he says there are certain things which are there in individuals looking at it, that this is not going to work out, and even if it does, it's not going to work out in the long term. Maybe in areas of social, even that seems to be reducing now, so it doesn't work so much in abroad. So one of the things that you have to remember is not all fights have to be resolved. This is one of the things that John tells us. There are some things that you and the person you're in a relationship with, whichever kind of relationship, you are never going to agree. Don't try to convince the other person and tell the other person, don't try to convince you. Agree to disagree and let it be. How do you do that? How can you just say that I don't like what you're doing, but I let it go? You can do it only if you respect the other person. No? You can do it if you say that I respect you enough to not force my opinion on you. Accept your opinion, though I don't like it. I have a problem with this word love because everything is love. No, in relationship, you have to love your parents, you have to love your children, you have to love your partners, you have to love your work, you have to love this, you have to love that. But what is love? Nobody seems to be able to get to the root of that love. How do you love? Do you even know the emotion called love? It's just something that you feel. Now, unfortunately, that something that you feel is so driven by what you see on media. You think that that is love. Romantic love, which I think is just a myth, by the way. Somehow that seems to be our standard, a gold standard for what relationships what love should be. And I don't know if that's love. The other thing they talk about is the love that a parent has for the child, especially the love that a mother has for the child. Sounds very nice, sounds very good. Perhaps. Something that I have a problem with understanding is, why do people not talk about being kind in a relationship? What is the meaning of being kind? The meaning of being kind, the way we were taught in school, or the way everyone understands the word, is I may have something nasty to tell you, but I can tell it to you nicely. I don't have to insult you, demean you, put you down to tell you that. So sometimes when I have some of these young couples who come in just before they are married and they're having some kind of communication issues, I always ask them this question: what is the most important thing in your relationship? What is the one thing that you would want? Respect, love, or kindness? Everyone says love. And when I ask them, I don't know what is love, can you please explain it? Then they'll say understanding, compatibility, we should have a support for each other, we should be able to adjust with each other. I don't know. And then I ask them, so you will adjust and you will compromise and you will do a lot of things with each other, which we all know if in a marriage is great in the early years. And then when things get tough, when you've been married for like 15, 20, 25 years, life just changes and you're miserable generally, and the other person insists that you be the kind of person they want you to be, does love sustain the relationship? I think it's either respect for the other person's will that allows the relationship to succeed, or kindness that allows the relationship to succeed. For instance, if your partner comes and tells you, listen, I'm sick of you, I don't want to be with you in a relationship anymore, the first thing you'll do is, oh my God, no, 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 you can't, you can't, you can't, what will I do without you? To be able to love somebody, Dr. Suresh, it seems the meeting is going to get over in 10 minutes. So are you saying I have 10 minutes more? Okay. So what we are going to, when you are in a relationship, are we really able to end things in 10 minutes? I'm sorry, are we really able to end things with respect? No. We will say that I'm in a relationship with you, I got married to you, I gave so many things to you, you cannot just leave me. I don't know where's the love. Also, something interesting with this is, do you love somebody or do you like somebody? You know, you can like and dislike a person. I can love you and I may not like you. I may love you all the time, and there are some things about you that I don't like. That's what I mean by saying don't resolve all the fights. It's okay. Don't over communicate. Don't tell everything that's in your mind to your partner. Some things you're supposed to keep only to yourself. It's fine. It's not dishonesty. It's just common sense. Okay, and this is not me telling. This is really this is research saying this. Monogamy, a very controversial subject, and I'm sure there will be questions on this if we have time. But there's a difference between these two words, being practical or being practicable. So we have mixed up these two words. You know, we do theory and we do practicals when we study. Practical is when you are experiencing something, living it out, not just doing it theoretically. Practicable means we can do it. It's feasible. So I feel my understanding, especially if you study the history of civilizations, monogamy came across because you need to give a state who has to grow up into a healthy adult. So it was a practicable option. It was never a practical option. In this day and age, staying with one partner, even in marriage, is not easy. Acknowledge it. Don't just hate your partner because your partner finds somebody else attractive. Don't just think your life is destroyed because of it. A style of communication, passive aggressive, which is there everywhere, whether you're in a personal relationship, professional relationship. In couples, very simple, give the silent treatment. I won't talk to you. Story over. I won't fight with you, but I just won't talk to you. Finished. I have a couple where the husband is trying to tell the wife that, you know, we are great on everything else, but I just wish you would find a nicer way to talk to me. And she says, okay, fine. If you don't like the way I talk, then I won't talk. Story over. She just says, I will not talk. And then she will not talk for weeks and months together. What does the guy do? Right? And then you have these little examples that I've put about what passive aggressive communication styles are or behaviors are in the workplace. Check whether you are experiencing that, either you're at the receiving end of it or you are doing that with your partner that you thought of. Finding fault. Everybody is flawed. Everybody will make mistakes. Simple example, if you think of a wooden chair, immediately then you'll think of all of wooden furniture. From there, you'll think about wood. From there, you'll think about trees. From there, you'll think about plastic. Or you might end up thinking about furniture, which is not made of wood. You know, the basic neuronal structure is such that everything in your thoughts will branch out. So from specific to general. Which means if you find one thing wrong with what the person is doing or saying, you will take it, you as in we all will take it and generalize it to the entire personality. So if I am someone who never comes on time, which is something which I can never come to class on time. If I'm someone who's late, then you will decide that this is someone who has absolutely no interest and is not committed to her work. I'm just someone who doesn't know maybe time management very well, and that is why I'm late for class. That does not mean I don't know my job. But this is how we come to assumptions about people. that meter of love and hate I put is exactly that. One thing is wrong and we go ahead and we make it completely into hate. We mistake a behavior or a thought or an attitude for the entire person. And that is where we tend to lose the person entirely. Everyone in a relationship needs to understand that the emotions that you feel in the relationship are because of you, and only you. We say that he does this or she does it, and that is why I feel bad about myself. The person behaves in such a particular way, and then I lose my confidence and I lose my faith. And if you are a confident person, you will remain confident. And if you're starting to lose your confidence, find a way to work on it. Blaming the other person, that just shows that Aristotle has always talked about causation. When Aristotle talks about causes for a behavior, he calls it responsibility. The Greek word that he uses is responsibility, not cause. So the cause of your emotion, the responsibility for your emotion is yours. Difficult concept, but unfortunately true. Forgive is not equal to forget. The reason I put an elephant with a USB data, because one, elephants have great memory, and add to that a USB, you can imagine how much the memory is expanded. So it's not always easy to forget things. You can forgive so that you let go of the hurt, pain, resentment for yourself and the other, but don't expect that you should forget. And we always say, oh, forgive him, let him go, it's okay, and forget about it. Don't think about it. If you have a brain and it is normal, it will work, and if it works, you will remember. Forgiveness is not equal to forgetting. And I'd like to end with this one simple statement. Human beings are flawed. We are humans. Manufacturing defect hai. We are flawed. How are we expecting flawless relationships when we ourselves are so flawed? So let's just keep that in mind as we move ahead. And I've got exactly 4 minutes left. Perfect. I ran through the slides. And I just like to tell you, go buy my book. If you can't get it from Amazon now, you can get it on Kindle. This is my book. Read the book. It tells you a lot about you if you're trying to set your relationships right or helping others, trying to help others with their relationships right. Please go read it on Kindle. And I do have a YouTube channel, Dr.CICILIA Chettiar. You can just go ahead, subscribe to that. And with Dr. Suresh's help, I will probably put this lecture also online. And perhaps I could see you guys there. Thank you very much. I'm going to clap for myself because I can't hear you all clapping.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. It was so informative and really very insightful also.
Thank you.
A big round of applause to ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Dear participant, you can unmute and then express your gratitude and give the feedback to the ma'am.
Very nice lecture, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know there were some questions. Huh?
Yeah, ma'am, we will have a question and answer session after.
Okay.
We will come back again in the same link. We will continue the question and answer session.
Okay.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was very informative. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very practical.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Take care.
We'll see
May
you
I
guys.
request you to just put up one of the slides that was talking about monogamy, please?
Yes,
if you don't mind.
Yes, of course. If you have time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Is this the one? Yes, you're welcome. Is this the one, monogamy?
Yes, this is the one. This is the one. I found that very interesting.
I don't know how many people are ready to beat me up after this, but it's something that I offer to everyone. Think about it. I'm just saying monogamy. If you make me start talking about marriage, then I have a whole lot of other things to talk about.
No, I completely believe that monogamy is overrated. We really cannot expect one person to satisfy all our needs. So monogamy does not necessarily translate to a sexual relationship. I cannot expect my husband to help me fulfill all my needs. Maybe, we can restrict in the Indian context for our sexual needs to one person. But when I need to be heard, when I want to discuss something that is of absolutely no interest to my husband, for example, if I sit down and talk to him about psychology, he's just going to start snoring. There, I have my other relationships. So monogamy is extremely overrated.
Is your husband listening to this lecture by any chance?
Oh yeah, he is, and he knows very well. We are in open relationship that way.
God bless. Continue.
Yes, my observation from your presentation, not only your reports, and I can see the slides in each of the report, amazing. I think I can see that without technical support, I don't know how you have that shows that your aesthetic sense also. And
Madam, I want to say
not,
one thing.
not able to hear.
It's soft. I can hear, but it's very soft because I think one more ma'am is trying to speak. I can't hear her.
Okay.
Madam, good evening, madam. Good evening to everybody. I am Dr. Selvi. I want to say something.
Sure.
But anyway, you have already explained 3 different types of relationship. But in Indian culture, whatever happens in that married life, we have to accept, especially ladies. Even though,
Who says?
even if she likes, yes. Anyway, most of the time, we are accepting the relationship.
Ma'am, one announcement. Make one announcement.
We have to. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Dr. Shelby, just hold on, please.
Yes, we will have a question and answer
Yes,
session
yes.
after